Hey, what's up, franchise family? This is Ryan Hicks as I am trying to figure out this new software that I've got going on. I think that looks good. So the purpose of this chat is to give you some absolute fire. Let me actually bring this up so you can see my face, but it's to give you some absolute fire content as it relates to franchise social media best practices and also things to avoid. So just by way of short introduction to myself, over the past 3 weeks or so, I've been spending a lot of time editing the content from the podcast. Modern Business Podcast is one of the top franchise podcasts in the world. We're about to publish the 300th episode. This may actually be number 300 or something like that. But I spend a lot of time meeting with executives, CEOs, and specifically marketing teams because I'm also a partner at a company called Rallyo. Big shout outs to Rallyo. But we are one of the largest and the leading social media management platforms in the world. I work with over 100 brands. And so, given that context and that experience, and also just being on the road in person on the tours that we have been on, and actually, let me make sure that my phone is off here. But being on the road, there are a lot of things that I've seen and that I've learned. And I wanted to just take some time to share some best practices with you guys. And look, I understand that you probably have a limited budget. I'm really trying to learn this software, but you have a limited budget. You have limited time. You have limited resources. At the franchisee level, there's limited expertise in how to execute on social. And so what I wanted to do is take some of the common threads, 3 of the top mistakes that I see, and then run down 10 of the kind of the value-packed lessons that I'm really starting to see as I look at this whole realm of navigating paid advertising versus organic and all things social. I'm just picking up on trends, and I wanted to share that with you guys. And ultimately, the bottom line is to help cut through some of the noise out there, to help give you some almost education that can help. Obviously, I'd love for you to look at Rallyo, look at our platform, rallyo.com, great platform. In my opinion, I'm biased, best in the world. But if it's one of the competitors, use what I'm talking about and use the competitors to execute on this because it will absolutely help your brand. I've dedicated literally 4 years, the last 4 years of my life, producing hundreds of hours of free content. I barely ever talk about social media management, kind of in that particular expertise and silo on that show. Although outside of the show, a lot of my days are spent educating and spending time with national ad funds and marketing teams and franchisees and all the rest. But I want to get you on the right path. If you are a CEO and you stumbled across this, if you're in a different role, get this over to your marketing team because the things that I'm going to share here are really, really good. So let me go ahead and break into the meat of the content. So the 3 common mistakes that I see. Number 1, no system in place to manage and monitor pages and reputation. Number 2, not understanding the real role of organic. And number 3, lack of authentic, hyper-local content. These are 3 mistakes, problems, and challenges that I consistently see. So let me break this down really quick. And then I'm going to jump into some stuff that is really, really good. But number 1, most brands, actually, you would be surprised at the number of brands that do not have some sort of kind of global tool that helps manage and monitor their social presence. Typically, what brands do have is some sort of corporate content cadence that they're publishing the content down to the local pages. And there's a baseline ability to see some analytics, but you'd be surprised. Lots and lots of brands do not have a tool in place that can help franchisees leverage assets and see top performing content and benchmark what's working and what's not. And if you do have that stuff in place, kudos, good job. That's kind of like a pre-baseline to the baseline that you actually need to be at. But if you don't have that in place, I would highly recommend set a meeting with me. One of our competitors is a platform called Sochi. There's lots of different platforms, even Hootsuite, which is a non-franchise specific tool. You need at least a baseline ability to have more than just Facebook Business Manager solution set up with parent-child and also the Creator Studio. You need more than that. But really what, a mistake that I see is brands that are working with a management platform that brings everything into one place, but they don't really have the ability to support franchise systems. And when you get really down granular and you really start looking at one platform versus the other, I believe the real secret sauce and advantage comes from the ability for that supplier to be able to provide some done for you services where franchisees can opt in and get proactive help managing the things that are most important that can help them build community in a super cost effective way. Because at the end of the day, we know that you at corporate, you have a lot of initiatives going on and you're trying to support a lot of franchisees and there's a lot to do. And so there's just a ton to manage. And I'm actually going to bounce back over because I want you to be able to see my face. The problem is it's still, it needs to be blown up for you. So I'll leave it like this. The second problem is not understanding the real role of organic. And let me go ahead and just put this up here so you can see it better. I probably should have troubleshooted this before I started recording, but kind of number one under this problem, point A, if you will, is not understanding leading and lagging indicators. Well, what do I mean by that? And so the shiny toy that franchisees are interested in, and obviously marketers are interested in, is paid ads, right? So how am I using marketing to convert? What is my cost for acquisition? What are my long-term, what's the long-term customer value? What's my cost per lead? Like those are the leading indicators of success, quote unquote. And I'm doing those in big air quotes on social media. But really there's a lack of understanding of lagging indicators. And so what I mean by lagging indicators are the other things that kind of contribute to the success. It's the buyer's journey, getting real about what the actual buyer's journey looks like, because very rarely you just run an ad and you're getting one-click sales or one-click closes, or a person fills out a form and then boom, they become a paying customer without anything else. There's typically a whole journey that takes place, and really the ultimate thesis, I could walk you through that journey. Person clicks on ad, goes to website, reads blog, sees the social media icon at the bottom, goes over to the social, puts a pin in it, comes back a week later, sees a review. Maybe they see another ad and then they end up in a conversation, yada, yada. So we could break down the journey, but the bottom line is organic done right. And I'm going to break this down in very much detail in a second, probably more than you've seen in a good long time or maybe ever. But organic makes paid traffic perform better. And I cannot stress that enough. I'm going to actually break that down here in a second. And I'm going to actually in 10 reasons, which is point C here, 10 reasons organic matters. I'm going to break that down. And so that's the second issue is at the both franchisor and the franchisee level, not understanding the real value of organic, not understanding the X's and O's of what needs to happen, or kind of at the franchisor level, that, but it's really hard to actually have franchisees put it in practice. And then the third problem, mistake, challenge is lack of authentic, hyper-local content. And so largely what I see is local posting is completely left to franchisees. There aren't really any alternative support options. And so the franchisees have a ton to do. Maybe in your playbook, you're recommending that they go have a strategy to engage with Facebook groups, and they need to be putting their events on the calendar and on down the list. And so when it comes to basic things like scheduling like 4 local posts per week and making that kind of real on the raw, making it non-vanilla corporate content, the local cracks to fill in the national drumbeat that you have, it's just tough because they're busy. They have a lot to do. And so that leads into the other obvious point is there's no way to have accountability or to even have a culture to foster the minimum engagement standards, much less the franchisees actually executing on it. And so that's kind of a summary of 3 of the top mistakes that I see and really challenges that I see on social media as it relates to franchise brands. So kind of as I talked about organic, I want to give you a definition of what that means. And so the way that I define organic and that we define organic is really, and actually I got this from studying some other incredible marketers because I'm always learning, but the ability to earn the attention of your market / prospects, however you want to define that, without paid advertising. And so the traditional, marketing model that is kind of taught in textbooks and that a lot of marketers kind of learn from a rudiments level is you have paid media, you have earned media, you have owned media. And the idea is to build social as an own channel, kind of like you own your email marketing list for the folks that have opted in. As you grow your Facebook following and community, that's something that you own. But as marketers, for marketers over the past number of years, as the organic reach has gone down and down and down, and the need to have the drug of the paid ads to drive the immediate lead generation to then immediately be able to quantify revenue because budgets are limited and all the rest, and competition is thick, we've kind of lost the understanding of the value of the own channel that is social media. And so there's a video that I put, why does this matter is the next question. There's this video that I was hosting Gary Vaynerchuk on my podcast back in 2019 at the IFA convention. And I asked him the question, and I'll pull up. This is the video right here. I don't even think I can hit play and you can hear it. I'll try.
Why they should be creating local engaging content.
I'm asking him a question.
They want their business to grow.
So Gary goes on a rant. I don't know if you can hear that because I actually didn't test this, but I said, why does this matter? He said, because you want your business to grow. And so Gary is one of the leading authorities in the social media, quote unquote, influencer and education space. And he goes on a rant. I'll link to this in the show notes. But that's what organic is. And that's kind of why it matters. And so what I want to do is break down 10 reasons why this matters. And I want to discuss this. And so reason number 1 is obvious: brand awareness. You want to build your brand and get your voice out to the world. You want to be able to have the reach and the audience, and to have at least the baseline awareness that your brand is here. You're here to serve in your local community, and it's a trusted brand. It's not some independent Chuck in a truck or Joe in the retailer. This is a credible national brand, and you're bringing awareness into that local community. And when you extrapolate that up, at the macro level with all of the local pages working the way that they should be, it really helps drive awareness, and you can get millions and millions and millions of extra impressions that you're probably not getting right now, tens of millions and hundreds of millions, depending on the size of your brand. And so you want to build that awareness. The second is validation. I talked about that customer journey. And, what happens when people are poking around and they're looking at reviews and they land on your social? You want a lively, relevant presence that affirms doing business with your brand and that validates. Like in a lot of ways, franchise development and marketers that are creating leads for the franchise side of the business, it really becomes a game of, can the brand and the existing franchisees validate for the system? Well, that happens in the consumer realm, and we're looking for validation from other people, and we're looking to learn what a brand's about. Third point, and I'll try to start moving a little quicker, but third point is create connection points. I hosted Gary and I showed kind of that clip of Gary Vaynerchuk on the podcast, and he talked about connection points a ton on the episode that we did. And it's really kind of like a trail of breadcrumbs to add context to who your brand is and what your brand's about. Number 4, display your unique culture at a time where hiring and recruitment is such a challenge, one of the ways that you can stand out is showcase your team and your values, showcase those in action, show and tell why you're a best place to work. Don't just, have this vanilla content without showing how you stand out, and leave the whole values and best place to work chat for when you're on a podcast. You want to show that in daily living, breathing fashion. And there's a lot of really cool ways with employee advocacy that you can rally your employees around your brand and get them sharing your brand content. And I could go on for days about that topic, but organic matters because it can display your unique culture. Number 5, build community. You create conversations, engage the audience, whether it's in your industry at large, with your customers, prospects, I call it suspects, right? Employees or fans. You want to build that community. And really the ultimate metric that we're tracking, or not the ultimate, but a simple metric as you're looking at organic, quote unquote, is really engagement. How are you engaging with the audience? How is that growing? And how are your locations benchmarking? And how do you get the bottom folks up in their engagement? Number 6 is number 1 for a lot of people, like in their minds, when they think of social media, they immediately think of paid ads. What I'm talking about here with organic is really everything but paid ads. But organic can create leads. It can create sales opportunities without spending money. And that's really the definition of what I'm talking about here with organic and why it matters. And number 7 is nurture and convert existing leads. So I talked about the buyer's journey and the fact that you need touch points and nuggets of validation, but I want to ask you to think about in your own mind's eye, have you ever had somebody, whether it's a friend or whether it's in business or whatever it is, and you see that they posted on social media and it reminded you like, oh shit, I had to talk to this, I was supposed to send them this thing, or maybe it was in the inverse and you're expecting them to follow up with you and they don't follow up, but then you go post an Instagram story or you post a LinkedIn and all of a sudden you get a text message from them because, they randomly thought of you. Well, it wasn't so random. There was the kind of the touch point of the fact that they saw you and it triggered their memory. And so you want to be able to do that and, can break into a whole set of training and education around, what you're supposed to be posting, whether it's to educate, to inform, to entertain, and all of that. But nurturing and converting existing leads is something that's really important, and your social channels play a significant role in that. Number 8, which I think is most important because it's the most under talked about area of organic, but it makes your ads perform better. People don't just one-click buy. Like I talked about before, they engage, they research, and they're doing what they need to do to find their fit. And this is just a fact of life that an engaged local social presence. I have case studies that I can share over that shows this from clients where we have 1,000+ locations on the platform. Then we have 50 units that are executing local well. It's significant in terms of website traffic, leads and conversions, and better SEO and SERP. I actually just realized that I didn't even have, there's a lot more than 10 reasons that this matters. I didn't even list the rise in SERP rankings and all of that on here. But all of these things are results of a more engaged social presence. Number 9 and 10 kind of go hand in hand together. Research and listen. Social is a really a good place to gather information, to keep your ear to the ground. A lot of this is kind of like in the comments if you're really posting engaging content, or if you're surfing groups on Facebook or LinkedIn if you're B2B, whatever type of brand that you're in. It depends. That depends on which platforms that you're spending your time. But this is a place for you to listen and learn and be able to subscribe to RSS feeds and understand the types of things that your customers care about, which kind of bleeds into the last reason that organic matters. Is you can test ideas and messaging, and it's really a real-time feedback loop and communication channel. So that is 10 reasons why organic matters. And at this point, your head is probably spinning and saying, okay, I'm checked out. But if you're still listening, that's a really good thing, because the ultimate problem that I definitely understand, and I want you to be able to see my face here, because I think that this is very important. But the ultimate problem, as I alluded to it before, is you are busy. There's limited budget, and the idea of having to even figure out how you're going to implement, you're probably listening to this and saying, yes, Ryan, that's nice, but our time is better spent elsewhere on X, Y, and Z. I understand there's a million things on your to-do list, but what I wanted to share with you is to number one, all of these things that I just ran down are super important. And number two, there are solutions to those problems that can be implemented without breaking the bank and without taking too much of the time. And so Ralio, for example, and there are other solutions. Ralio has a best-in-class platform that can help whether you have 5 or 5,000 locations. We have all types of very, very good promotions going on because ultimately our mission is to serve franchisees and to help franchisors do that. And so you can connect with us, and I could get you in a good place to be able to have the right platform and infrastructure in place so that you're able to take advantage of best practices, not all at once, but get, one foot in front of the other, get the platform in place. But then the follow-on component for all of those 10 things that I just broke down, the follow-on component, and something that is now available that we released is an a la carte model. So maybe there's areas of that, those 10 reasons on the everything but paid ad side. So on those organic things, maybe there's areas that you're very good at, and your franchisees are very good at that. But you want to check the box and get help at a very low cost, literally starting at $20 a month or even below, and sometimes at kind of like an a la carte menu to get that hands-on local service so that you can explode engagement, so that you can create the growth, whether it's in following, in community, to help nurture, to help ads perform better, and all the rest. We have a killer solution. So connect with me. You can book a meeting with me. I'll put that down in the show notes. My email address is ryanh@ralio.com. As you can tell, I'm talking fast and I'm excited because I'm used to, whenever I speak to you guys publicly, I'm used to just keeping it general, not getting down specific into the subject matter expertise that I'm discussing here. But in my day-to-day world, I spend a lot of time. A lot of my time is spent doing this, and I get very, 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 very excited. And the last thing that I'll say, and I'll leave you with this, because I didn't say it earlier, and I had a note written down. These are my only notes that I had. I can't even find where it's at, but I have a note here that says running ads without a managed page, or kind of like a managed presence, if you will, on your social media presence is really like pouring water into a leaky bucket, because yes, it's the instant hit, it's the instant fix that you're looking at, but you really need a strategy to have a buttoned up local social presence, and you need a long-term strategy that absolutely doesn't break the bank, but there's X's and O's that you have to have in place. Just put that accountability on your team. If you're a franchisee, you need your team to help you achieve X, Y, and Z, whether it's them doing it themselves, you using a software like Ralio or Hootsuite or on down the list to do it yourself, or engaging a team, the Ralio team or another team to help you do it. But we've really built our organization to align to be able to help you get that local level support. I wanted to share that with you. I'm open to all comments. Connect with me at Ryan Thomas Hicks. Would love to chat over on LinkedIn or any of the social platforms. That's my handle everywhere. That's all I have for you today, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Cheers. Or actually watching because we're on YouTube. I'm used to hosting the podcast, but cheers, guys.